Alright, welcome to Kevin's Show Work. This video we're gonna go over PR11w questions 1 through 11. Alright, first question here. Okay, it's asking, funding for the agency has been the protagonist of debates for many years. Here you see protagonist of debate, right? We could even write that here if that makes it easier, and you can plug it in, right? Is it a protagonist of debate, significance of debate, discipline of debate, or subject of debate? By the way, what is it? Funding. What is funding? It has to be the subject of debate. You have a debate, a subject that you debate, right? You don't debate a discipline or significance. Okay, number 2. Here, if you look at it, it says some critics think the money that goes to the NEH would better be spent on infrastructure, yada, 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 right? Here we have the subject, we have the verb. This is plural, this is a plural verb, so this is so far good. But now we have a past tense, okay? So one thing we're gonna do is look at the sentence before, and here it's present tense. Always look at the sentence before or after. Do not look within the same sentence, because a lot of times you'll have these conditionals that'll throw you off and make you think that it's past tense, but it's not. Okay, here it's present tense. If you look way up here, it's also present tense. Okay, do not look at that. Why is that? Because this is just part of a modifier. That's just there to describe, but not what the tense of the paragraph actually is. So here A is the correct answer. Okay, let's go to number 3. Okay, here we start off with it's a transition word, right? When you have a transition, the thing that you want to do is to look at what is before, okay, and what is after. So here, all the way to here. Don't be lazy, right? I'm gonna write that here. Don't be lazy. Flip the page. What is the last sentence here talking about? They're talking about how the NEH, right? Not doing so good, right? With their money. Right? If you read it, some critics think the money that goes to the NEH would be better spent on infrastructure. Okay? So here, we can say NEH, not that great. Here, the agency, which is actually referring to the NEH, okay, provides important services, right? This tells us that this is contrasting. Therefore, is a cause and effect, right? Likewise is a continue. However is a contrast, okay? For instance is an example, right? C here is the correct answer, because important services versus them not doing so well with their money is completely different. Okay, number 4. Okay, here it says that non-scientific pursuits were in danger of getting left behind or overlooked. Okay, here there's a list here of getting left behind, right, or overlooked. So here A is the correct answer, because this is past tense and this is also past tense. Remember what I told you about in being? Being is usually a wrong choice. All right. Okay. Number 5. Anytime you see the word among, okay, something that you should think about is a list is coming. Okay? Among usually lists like 2 or more, usually around 3 things. So here, among the most notable projects that have been funded by the NEH over the last 50 years are the, one, Ken Burns documentary, The Civil War. 2, the blockbuster Metropolitan Museum of Art exhibition, Treasures of Tutankhamun. And 3, 16 Pulitzer Prize winning books. If you're doing a list, you cannot have a semicolon. The only time semicolons are used in a list is if the list already has way too many commas inside it. Okay, here it's just 3 things. There's only 1 comma here. So here we don't use a comma. We don't use a semicolon. We use a comma. C. All right, let's move on to number 6. All right, for number 6, okay, we have something NEH grant money, which has, okay, and it looks like it's asking if this is the verb or not. So let's look from the beginning, and one of the big clues here is that although is a subordinating conjunction, right? Which means everything that follows all the way to this comma here is a dependent clause. And what follows after is the actual subject of the sentence, right? And the independent clause, right? So here's subject, and if we keep reading, which the NEH grant money, which has a positive impact on local economies, this is the only verb that's possible, but this which makes it a modifier. And in order for this part to be a independent sentence, we need to cut that out. So it becomes money has be. All right, number 7 is pretty simple. Preservation funds likewise similarly. What do you notice here? Likewise and similarly are very similar. What about here? In the same way, comparably. They all mean the same thing. To similarly. So we can just get rid of it. It's redundant. All right, at this point, the writer is considering adding the following sentence. Okay. Again, when you're doing adding, you're going to look at the sentence before, okay, and the sentence after, right? Don't be lazy. Okay, we know that this sentence here is about Jamestown, okay? If we look at the next page, nothing about Jamestown. So we know that we don't have to look after, okay? We just have to look at the sentence before. So here, if we look at the last part of the sentence, right, which has resulted in the creation of an entirely new local industry, right? I told you you should always read the whole thing, but one of the tricks is to read the last part, and the last part has to match whatever is in here. It's talking about new local tourist industry. Here, it's talking about how Jamestown was thought to be lost and found no evidence of it, and it's about scholars. Totally unrelated. So we can get rid of the yeses, okay? And we have the no's. Now, does it blur the paragraph's focus on far-reaching economic effects of NEH grants? Can have? Yes. Right? What is the economic effect? Is the new local tourist industry, right? Whereas, does it undermine the idea that tourist attractions contribute to the local economy? Remember, undermine means to weaken. And is it going to weaken this idea of tourist attractions? No. It's actually strengthening it because it's creating it, right? So C here is the correct answer. All right, let's go to number 9. In number 9, it says, which choice most effectively sets up the quote that follows? Right, so again, what we're going to do is read the quote right here. Okay, and what we're looking for is some keyword in this quote, okay, that relates to a keyword, a corresponding word in the underlined part. So if we read it, it says science and technology are providing us with the means to travel swiftly, but what course do we take? This is the question that no computer can answer. So we know it's talking about science and technology and something that a question no computer can answer. Okay, we're gonna work backwards this time just to show you how I do process of elimination. So is it talking about public art here? No, there's no mention of public art. Okay, is it talking about computer research? It seems tempting because it says science technology, but I don't know. But what about increased funding? Is it talking about more money? No. What about emphasizing the importance of science over humanities? It never mentions humanities, never talks about it, how it's more important. Here, if we look at this first choice, cautioning against the over-reliance on technology, right? Over-reliance on technology. Here it's talking about relying on science and technology to travel swiftly. But what course do we take? No computer can answer, right? This is what's connecting here. A. Number 10, okay, this one. The issue should not be weather. Weather, like that, is basically talking about clouds and rain. I don't think they're talking about clouds here and rain. So we can get rid of A and B as well, right? If you do 2 with double O's, that's some kind of emphasis, right? Here it's talking about weather, right? Which is when you're talking about 2 things. And again, it's whether to talk about 2 things, not whether to. This again is to emphasize. So here the correct answer is C. All right, now we're on to the last question. To make this paragraph most logical, sentence 1 should be placed. So one thing we're gonna do is read sentence 1, okay, and look for any clues that tell us where it should go. Look for transitions or anything that might be of help. So here, as federal funding for scientific research and the military continues to increase, we should not forget Seaborg's word, right? We should not forget, okay? So then, not forget, what does that mean? We knew it before. But do you know Seaborg's words? There's nothing before that tells us what Seaborg's words were. So we're gonna have to look through the rest to see what Seaborg's words were. And it's right here, this quote, right? These are his words, and we can only not forget them after we have learned about them, right? So it goes right after sentence 2.